Good evening and welcome to the news at 8. I'm Sarah Jacob. Let's get you up to date with the day's top headlines. Prime Minister Modi launches the Kashi Vishwanath Corridor project in his constituency Varanasi in pole-bound Uttar Pradesh by performing various rituals and prayers, even takes a dip in the Ganga. All of it covered live on national television and beamed across Uttar Pradesh. Gujarat adds almost 10,000 new COVID-19 deaths, revises the state's tally to 19,964, almost double of what the government originally declared. 3 Jammu and Kashmir armed police personnel have died. 14 others have been injured after 2 terrorists attack a police bus near a police camp at Zewan on the outskirts of Srinagar. A search operation has been launched to track down the assailants. Former Chief Justice of India, Ranjan Gogoi's comments in an interview to NDTV result in a privilege against him in Parliament. I go to the Rajya Sabha whenever I feel like it, Justice Gogoi had said in that interview. A TMC MP moved the privilege motion against ex-Chief Justice Gogoi. The CBSE drops a controversial passage from a Class 10 English exam that perpetuates gender stereotypes after a nationwide outrage that also reached Parliament. Sonia Gandhi called it blatantly misogynist. The top story of the day. Prime Minister Modi inaugurated the 339 crore rupee Kashi Vishwanath Corridor today, just 2 months before the UP elections. All BJP chief ministers and over 3,000 seers attended the launch of this project, which is crucial for the party ahead of the state polls next year. This is the third project that the Prime Minister inaugurated in Uttar Pradesh in a week, and the Kashi launch was a full-on, day-long extravaganza. In some of the key moments, Prime Minister Modi was seen taking a dip in the Ganga, throwing flowers at the construction workers who built the corridor that links the iconic Kashi Vishwanath temple with the ghats of the Ganga. The Prime Minister was then filmed having lunch with them, offering prayers at the Kal Bhairav temple and even accepting a turban from a common man on the streets.
The cameras firmly focused on Prime Minister Narendra Modi as he inaugurated phase 1 of the Kashi Vishwanath Corridor project that connects 2 icons in the holy city of Varanasi, the Ganga ghats to the Kashi Vishwanath temple, and cost 339 crore rupees to build. A government project that's been turned into a mega day-long event. The Prime Minister also led the main rituals inside the Kashi Vishwanath temple, with not even Chief Minister Adityanath present, reaffirming Modi's lead role for the BJP in the UP polls. In this lengthy speech inside the Kashi Corridor complex, the Prime Minister invoked politics, gulami or colonization, and even the Mughal Emperor Aurangzeb.
मुझे खुशी है कि सदियों की गुलामी ने हम पर जो प्रभाव डाला था, जिस हिंद भावना से भारत को भर दिया गया था, अब आज का भारत उससे बाहर निकल रहा है। आज का भारत सिर्फ अयोध्या में प्रभु श्री राम का मंदिर ही नहीं बना रहा, बल्कि देश के हर जिले में मेडिकल कॉलेज भी बना रहा। औरंगजेब के अत्याचार, उसके आतंक का इतिहास साक्षी है, जिसने संस्कृति को कट्टरता से कुचलने की कोशिश की। यहां अगर औरंगजेब आता है तो शिवाजी भी उठ खड़े होते हैं।
For the BJP, the political hype around the corridor reflected in the massive build-up to the inauguration, from social media to an on-ground media saturation. Chief ministers of all BJP-ruled states are in Varanasi and will take part in a conclave with the Prime Minister. The inauguration was beamed live across UP and the country.
राष्ट्रपिता महात्मा गांधी ने इसी काशी में आकर के अपनी पीड़ा को व्यक्त किया था। यहाँ की गलियों, तंग गलियों को देख करके, यहाँ की गंदगी को देख करके, गांधी जी के नाम पर बहुत सारे लोगों ने सत्ता प्राप्त की होगी, लेकिन गांधी जी के उस सपने को साकार करने का कार्य कि काशी बाबा विश्वनाथ का धाम इस भव्य रूप में हो, वह पहली बार हम सबको देखने को प्राप्त हो रहा है।
All this despite questions over the intertwining of religion and politics and the opposition's attack on the BJP for what they call the use of government events for political gains. All schools in Varanasi were shut today and teachers deputed to light lamps on Varanasi ghats.
यहाँ तकरीबन 5000 शिक्षक शिक्षिकाएं लगे हुए हैं ड्यूटी पे।
और क्या क्या कर रहे हैं आप?
यहाँ पे रंगोली, पेंटिंग्स और दीप प्रज्वलन का कार्य सारे घाटों को सुसज्जित करने में सहयोग कर रहे हैं।
आप ही लोग कर रहे हैं?
जी बिल्कुल।
दिए जलवाना या रंगोली बनवाना आपके हिसाब से मतलब ये सही है, सरकारी इवेंट्स में इस तरह काम करवाना, या आपका प्राथमिकता शिक्षा होनी चाहिए?
प्राथमिकता शिक्षा है सर, हमारा विद्यालय खाली नहीं है, मतलब प्रत्येक विद्यालय से 1 या 2 शिक्षक की ही ड्यूटी लगाई गई है, बाकी शिक्षक विद्यालय पे अपना कार्य कर रहे हैं।
On the streets of Varanasi, diverse opinion over the project.
जो कहते हैं तकलीफ होती है, तो मैं उनसे कहूंगी कि भाई उनको तकलीफ ना हो, क्योंकि हम हिंदू हैं और हम हिंदुस्तान में रहते हैं, और सच बात मोदी जी के आने से पहले बार लग रहा है कि हम हिंदुस्तानी हैं, लेकिन ऐसा मुझे नहीं लग रहा है। हमारे साथ बहुत मुस्लिम भाई हैं, बहुत सारे धर्मों के लोग हैं, हम लोग मिलते जा रहे हैं, सब एक दूसरे को बधाई दे रहे हैं।
While the opening of the corridor will definitely ease access between the ghats and the iconic Kashi Vishwanath temple, it is the political hype around the project that the BJP hopes to cash in ahead of the 2022 assembly election in UP. With Vineet Verma and Ajay Singh, this is Alok Pandey, NDTV.
And Alok Pandey now joins us. Alok, the Kashi extravaganza, clearly part of a campaign for the forthcoming UP elections, because the BJP believes that it will, as it has brought the party votes in the past. And all day, Alok, we've seen with your reporting, we've witnessed much spectacle all day, with the PM being at the centre stage of it all. What's happening now?
Well, yes, it's been a day full of spectacle in Varanasi, and that continues on the ghats of the river right now. You can see here that there's a lot of festivities still taking place. You can see that boat. I wonder if we can pan to the river and also show you that boat that's going towards the Dashashwamekh Ghat and the Kashi corridor right now. And these are people who gathered at the Assi Ghat. They're watching the evening aarti that takes place here. It also takes place at the Dashashwamekh Ghat, but this is also a prominent one. So many teachers here, many people here, I'm sorry. But at the same time, I think the focus also is on how this government event has been converted into this big political thing by the government and by the party. In fact, I have here a lot of school teachers who were deputed here to light earthen lamps, and their schools are off today. Sir, आपका नाम क्या है?
सर मोहम्मद आरिफ नाम है, मैं बेसिक शिक्षा परिवार का एक सदस्य हूँ, शिक्षक हूँ।
शिक्षक है। तो आरिफ जी, आज स्कूल्स में छुट्टी है और आप लोग यहाँ दिए जला रहे हैं?
जी, ड्यूटी हम लोगों के यहाँ पे बेसिक डिपार्टमेंट की तरफ से लगाई गई।
अच्छा, आपका नाम क्या है?
सर मेरा नाम पीयूष कुमार चौधरी है।
अच्छा, चौधरी, ये बताइएगा आप लोग कितने टीचर्स यहाँ अस्सी घाट पे डेप्यूटेड हैं?
यहाँ पे कम से कम 450 के लगभग।
450। और आपको क्या क्या काम दिया गया?
हम लोग को दिए जलाने थे।
हाँ।
और यही सब साफ सफाई थोड़ा देखना था ये।
अच्छा,
हाँ।
एक चीज आपसे जानना चाहूंगा कि है तो सरकारी काम वैसे काशी कॉरिडोर, लेकिन इसका पॉलिटिसाइजेशन भी हुआ है, प्लस आप लोग को भी यहाँ डेप्यूट कर दिया गया आपके स्कूल्स बंद करके, ये कहाँ तक जायज है?
नहीं, स्कूल के बंद करके थोड़ा कॉरिडोर के लिए हम लोग को यहाँ बुलाया गया था।
हाँ।
ये बहुत हम लोग का सौभाग्य है कि यहाँ पे हम लोग आए और यहाँ पे अपना कार्य अनुभव दिया और अच्छा लगा हम लोग को। हम मोदी जी भी यहाँ पे आए और थोड़ा ये भी खुशी की बात है और काशी के लिए बहुत गौरवान्वित की बात है।
Thank you so much. So there you have it, all these teachers also participating in the rituals and lighting these earthen lamps that you see over here. And like I said, thousands of people also on the ghats, witnessing all of these events that are taking place in Varanasi.
Thanks so much, Alok. Well, you know, several of these projects launched by the BJP before the UP polls have triggered attacks from the opposition leaders, including the former UP Chief Minister Akhilesh Yadav, who says that they were all initiated by the previous Samajwadi Party's government. Well, today, though, the former UP Chief Minister took a swipe at the Prime Minister and the BJP that has run into controversy. Here's what he said.
बहुत अच्छी बात है, 1 महीना नहीं, 2 महीना, 3 महीने वहीं रहें, अच्छी बात है। वो जगह रहने वाली है, आखिरी समय पर वहीं रह जाता है बनारस में।
And the Mughal Emperor Aurangzeb and India's independence from British rule also figured in the Prime Minister's speech in Kashi, but there was no mention of COVID numbers. This on a day when the number of COVID deaths in India went up by 2%. An uptick in the number of COVID deaths came after it emerged that the number of COVID deaths in Gujarat were actually double than what was initially reported by the government. Sukirti Dwivedi has been following this story. She now joins us. Sukirti, this all emerged or came to light after figures were submitted over compensation to the Supreme Court.
Well, yes. So as far as the Gujarat government's official data of COVID deaths is concerned, the figure still stands at 10,098 deaths. So that is what they officially call that this is the number of COVID deaths that have taken place. However, on a parallel trajectory, what we are seeing at this point of time is that when this hearing took place on whether the COVID compensation of 50,000 rupees for each COVID death was that being given by state governments or not. In that case, the Gujarat government has filed an affidavit where they have said that they've already dispersed compensation to 19,964 families because they lost a dear one to COVID. Now, this is double the number of the official deaths that the Gujarat government has been citing so far. And now even the process of compensation dispersal has been also from the government's end. So this is not a private entity that is doing that or an NGO that has given out these figures. This is also coming from the Gujarat government. All of these deaths have been properly, this dispersal process has gone through a vetting process, has gone through scrutiny. All of the RT-PCR tests were negative. There are medical death certificates citing that the cause of death was COVID-19. The district disaster management authorities in Gujarat were involved in this process, and only after that approval and verification process did these nearly 20,000 people get COVID compensation. So here there is a mismatch in the figures, and just to point out how this changes things is that currently in terms of the official deaths cited by Gujarat, Gujarat stands at number 13 in terms of states with the highest number of deaths. But if we go by this compensation dispersal figures, it would end up ranking 7th. And in fact, if you look at a much larger figure in the number of people that have come forward to seek compensation for COVID deaths in Gujarat, it's over 34,000. So those applications are still under the verification process, but at least that many number of people are claiming that they lost a family member to COVID. So this raises serious questions on whether the kind of figures that have been given out by the government so far, do they match the ground reality or not?
It certainly does, and we'll also have to wait to see how, if this is reflected similarly in other states. But thanks for now, Sukirti, for that report. Meanwhile, let's go across to Naseem Masoodi, who is reporting that 3 Jammu and Kashmir armed police personnel have died. 14 others at least have been injured after 2 terrorists attacked a police bus near a police camp at Zewan on the outskirts of Srinagar this evening. Nazir, certainly an outrageous attack. What details do you have?
Well, police have confirmed killing of 2 policemen, including an assistant sub-inspector and a selection gate constable, and injuries to 12 others. Injured have been shifted to hospital, where condition of few is stated to be critical. That is what we have been able to gather so far officially. But what happened on the ground zero, where this attack happened, it is this place here at Zewan, where a police bus carrying policemen was attacked by militants. Some say 2 to 3 militants. They resorted indiscriminate firing after they tried to get inside the bus, but they couldn't. Doors were locked, so they resorted indiscriminate firing. Apparently, the policemen were not perhaps armed; they were not carrying weapons. There was not immediate, retaliation of that firing. So after the firing, they fled from this area. There are, these lanes, small lanes in this area. But what is big worry? Not just a major attack after a long time, where there have been casualties, and this is an area which is actually housing a number of security agencies. You name any security agencies, be it the paramilitary force or the army, it is stations here. They have their installations here, be it SSB, be it ITBP, be it CRPF, BSF, Jammu and Kashmir Police and Army, every security agencies have camps in this area. So the question is, how come they get into this area, attackers, and how come also they managed to escape from after carrying out such a major attack? After the incident, the whole area was cordoned off. Senior officers visited here. They have left this area. They are holding now series of meetings how to deal with the situation when security forces were not actually facing major attacks like this. Yes, there was an attack on the policemen in Bandipur, where 2 policemen were killed 2 days back. That was not of this scale. We have seen such a major attack where this indiscriminate firing on a police bus after a long time, and that is a big worry for the security agencies. Few days back, Director General of Police Dilbagh Singh said, in fact, yesterday, that there has been fresh infiltration. So the question is, were they local militants or they were the Pakistanis who may have recently infiltrated? But getting into this area, high security zone, is a big challenge, and after an attack, managing to escape is a huge security breach.
Many questions for the administration to answer there. Thanks for that, Nazir. The Central Board of Secondary Education, or CBSE, dropped a controversial passage that appeared in a Class 10 examination last week that openly promoted regressive notions about women. The move came hours after the Congress President Sonia Gandhi raised an objection to the passage in the Lok Sabha, calling it blatantly misogynist. The passage, which has now gone viral on social media, had bizarre sentences like the quote, I'm quoting here, "The emancipation of the wife destroyed the parents' authority over the children, and that it was only by accepting her husband's way that a mother could gain obedience over the younger ones."
The passage contains atrocious statements such as, I quote, "Wives stopped obeying their husbands, and that is the main reason children and servants are indisciplined," unquote. The entire passage is riddled with such condemnable ideas.
And I wonder what the appropriate answer to that question should have been. Let's get you the sports news right now. Priyank Panchal has replaced injured Rohit Sharma in India's test squad. Rohit Sharma sustained a left hamstring injury during his training session in Mumbai yesterday, and he has now been ruled out of the upcoming 3-match test series against South Africa. And India's Professor Neena Gupta, a mathematician faculty member of the prestigious Indian Statistical Institute of Kolkata, has been awarded the 2021 Ramanujan Prize for young mathematicians from developing countries for exemplary work in geometry and commutative algebra. She has become only the 4th Indian to win this award and only the 3rd woman to win this award globally. The Ramanujan Prize is given internationally to young mathematicians under the age of 45 for breaking new ground in the field.